what was your overarching objective for your time as ambassador to the United States?
If I reduced it to the absolute, very basic core, it is to safeguard the British interest. And what that means is persuading the US administration not to do things which would be against our interest and to do things which would be in our interest. And that is reduced to the utter core what you're doing. But the first thing you do when you arrive is to create the network that may make that possible. So the first day I stepped off the plane in Washington, D.C. with Catherine, my wife, the first thing we set out to do was to create a high, how can I put it, not high net worth, that sounds too financial, a high-powered network of influence to get to know people to whom I can go, who will receive me, who will be happy to talk to me, who will come to the embassy when invited, in the White House, in the State Department, in the Defense Department, maybe one or two other departments like US Trade Representative's Office. Very, very important. Much more important than the Department of Commerce for a foreigner. And then all the guys up on the Hill, the senators, the House members, particularly the chairman of committees, key committees like foreign relations, and then I discovered that it was damn good to be able to get to know a senator or a senior House member, but their staff were incredibly important because there were a number of senators and staff and House members who literally were fed their lines by their staffers. So if you didn't know the staffers, you couldn't influence the staffers. So that's why, as an embassy, you work as a team, because it's not considered right that the ambassador should go and see a staffer. So you get somebody a bit lower down the ladder who does that work for you. But that was basically the focus on the British interest, to create a network that's going to make it possible to achieve those aims. And then everything breaks down into specific policy objectives, like stop the Americans putting tariffs on steel exports from the UK to the US, to try and reach certain agreements on defense procurement, weapons procurement, to coordinate intelligence operations, all that kind. It's a very, very broad and deep canvas, and this is why it is the most, in my view, the most interesting diplomatic job in the world, because your canvas is huge. Because suddenly you realize, as a senator you didn't know anything about at all, who's absolutely vital on. For example, do you remember somebody who used to be Senate Majority Leader called Trent Lott? There's a guy called Trent Lott from, Catherine, where was Trent Lott? Was he Alabama or Tennessee? I can't remember. Alabama. Anyway.
The Deep South.
The Deep South. I've lost you. Where have you gone? Where are you?
Mississippi.
Mississippi. But I'll just tell Ted, should I just briefly tell the story of Trent Lott and show in what detail you have to go? And it's not nuclear weapons. It's not. Can you hear me over there? Have I gone?
Yes, please do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've lost your volume a bit. There was a massive trade dispute between the European Union and the United States in the very early noughties over bananas. Now, you might think that bananas is not the British ambassador to the United States' chief preoccupation, but because the argument about bananas involved Senator Trent Lott and one of the largest Republican Party donors, it became really important and went straight up like in a high-speed elevator to the White House. And before I knew where I was, the United Kingdom, just because it was a member of the European Union, was being threatened with all kinds of countervailing tariffs because the United States claimed that European bananas, which don't exist, they actually come out of West Africa, were undercutting in price because they were being dumped. And so we're undercutting American bananas. And why am I telling you this story? It is to to illustrate the astonishing diversity of issues in a really rich relationship like that between the US and the UK. You have to be prepared to deal with it. And so in 48 hours, I had to become an expert on bananas, small, bendy European bananas, and very large, straight Latin American bananas, which are the ones that were grown on American plantations. And there was a time when I could talk the hind legs off a donkey about bananas. I've kind of forgotten that now. Probably a good thing. So there you are.